Hey, 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 it's Friday night. It's Good Friday. Some would say it's always Good Friday when John and Ed are on. It's all in. How we doing? You're muted, darling. You're muted.
Oh, it's because I muted myself because I was typing.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm really good, actually, and I've got a little announcement to make. I have built a Python application, my first ever, called Government Document Harvester, that is designed to allow people to easily download all of the PDF files that the US government is releasing, JFK files, RFK files, 9/11 files, and to OCR them, so optical character recognition, and then to index the text files so that they become searchable. And so when this show is finished, I will be posting the GitHub repo on Twitter, and hopefully it won't take me too long to get a little render application running that people can use to search the RFK files. So that is my bit for the community.
Well done, Ed. Well done, Ed. And there you go, people. Go and knock yourselves out. By all means, feel free to divulge any information that you find this way, and we'll be more than happy to talk about it. Yeah. Right. Well, Ed, how's your week been?
Yeah, just, I mean, personally speaking, I've had a better week than last week. I didn't have a very good week last week.
Yeah. What about the world? What kind of week's the world had, Ed?
The world is just going mental. I was starting off with myself because things in my life aren't too bad. But the world, I mean, it's just, it's continuing craziness. It seems like every week that we sit down to do one of these shows, we have more and more slides and more craziness. And I just...
And it's not just us. Other people are cracking up. I mean, people really seem to... I mean, I'm not sure if Trump's cracking up. The only one that seems to be holding it together is Putin. Zelensky's definitely cracking up.
Yeah, the Green Goblin is totally losing it.
Netanyahu's not doing too well, especially in his own country. Even Ben Davidson seems to be losing it. He really does.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I could say is that we've had a very active sun, and we had a big CME on Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, it wasn't that big though, really.
That was later in the week, but the thing is that it wasn't very big, but it created much heavier solar storm conditions on Earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's maybe the fact of the Earth's electromagnetic field going a bit haywire is messing everyone up.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, I think the tariffs are now up at like 200. You know, the US China tariffs. I think they're up at what 245 or something. It's absolutely crazy. They just seem to be taking it out on each other.
Once you get past 100, it just becomes a pissing competition.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're already prohibitively expensive. Making them more prohibitively expensive is just an exercise in one-upmanship.
So UVB76, the buzzer, which is in the thumbnail, is the Russian number. Now, you might be confused for thinking this is an episode of The Rabbit Hole, which normally airs on a Thursday at 9 p.m. It's a gratuitous plug there. Go and watch it. It's fun. Apart from last night when I wasn't happy. But apart from that, yeah, this isn't a rabbit hole because UVB76 is a Russian number. Well, you can say it's a Russian number station. I think we can conclusively prove it's a Russian number station, but it's one of those ghost stations that just transmits gobbledygook or signals or whatever that nobody can decode. So the question is it sending out coded messages to Russian sleeper cells? Because that seems to be the preferred understanding of it. And just before the SMO started, this number station posted 4 messages on a 24-hour period, and then the SMO started. Now, I think 3 days ago, this number station posted 4 messages in a 24-hour period. So, what's going to happen now?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, my personal opinion is that it's potentially some sort of Russian counteroffensive that people have been making noises about for a while. Well, the alternative media people who get things right rather than the mainstream media people who get everything wrong. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, they don't do things just for fun.
No.
And what sounds to us like gobbledygook, if you have the right crypto gear, is probably something clear text. So orders, something along those lines.
Thank you, Fluffy, for noticing. So Fluffy says, did John put on weight or is it the camera angle? Well, John hasn't put on weight, but what John's done is stupidly got his hair cut and put a rinse through it, and which has made his face look really big because he's got less hair. But yes, I need to lose weight. Thank you for pointing that out. And you're quite correct to do so, because if I lose weight, it would benefit my health. So yeah, I really do need to lose weight, and I will be going on a diet. But apart from that, yeah, I feel fat as well. I feel kind of bloated. It's maybe the camera angle, but I doubt it.
Even just 15 minutes of exercise every day. That's what I do to start my day off with, and it's not. I mean, it's stretches, just my kung fu warm up and some press ups and some sit ups.
Well, I think you're right, Ed. I think you're right, because you know what? I think I've been putting too much into the channel. I've been doing too many videos and spending too much time sat on this fat ass in front of the monitors. So I'm gonna start doing less videos, but hopefully up the quality.
New donation from Brickmate.
Well, I'm a big believer in.
We got a donation. We got a donation, Ed, already from Brickmate. Excellent, mate. Thanks very much. Does that mean I've got to read that thing you wanted read yesterday? If so, mention it again and I'll do it. Yeah. No, I think I might do my Tai Chi again.
Tai Chi is excellent. I do Tai Chi on a Tuesday before Kung Fu. Yeah. Anything like that is just so good for you.
Oh, I'm more than happy to read it, Brett, mate. As you know, I love the sound of my own voice. So I told my wife about last night, and she was ambivalent. She doesn't care. She just she loves doing these stupid things. And you guys that thought that was an AI insert, that wasn't. That was a real live living person. That was my wife, Mrs. Andy. She did the other voice acting. Right. What else have we got to talk about before we really get into the slides? Because we do have 40, so we've got to rip through them again.
I suggest we just crack on with the slides.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's crack on with the slides. And guess where we're going first? You guessed it. We're going to space. Or are we? That's the question. Did they go to space, Ed? Are they astronauts? Or what?
Well, unless Blue Origin, Bezos's space company, has figured out a way of protecting the exterior of what was effectively the bell end. Because when you see it parachuting down, it looks distinctly unscorched.
Well, it is there. It's there in the background. It's not really scorched. Having said that, let me just throw a little bit of science in here. Because they went up 60 miles, which is apparently 326,000 feet, right? So officially it is low Earth orbit. It's not low Earth orbit, but it is space, because I think you get your astronaut's wings in the USAF if you go over 100,000 feet. So technically they went into space, but they weren't piloting the aircraft or the vessel, because they had no control over it whatsoever. So I don't think they deserve astronauts' wings. They're basically passengers, you know?
Yes. I think, and also I think giving them astronaut wings is an insult to every astronaut and cosmonaut and person that's actually trained for it and properly been into space, rather than put a skimpy suit on and put loads of makeup on and then just sat on your ass for however long it took.
Look at the suits. They wouldn't protect them for 2 seconds if there was a leak. But anyway, back to the science part. So 60 miles up, low Earth. It's not even low Earth orbit. It's a low Earth orbit. It's not in orbit because that's not
weightless.
Yeah, they'll get microgravity, which is technically what you get on the space station. But the space station's at 250 miles up. So they went 60. The space station's at 250. Anyway, so we can see you, Ray. It's all right, mate. Just chill. Anyway, so they've come in at Mach 3 to 4, right? And their capsule would heat up to 500 to under 1,000 degrees C, right? Whereas if you come in from a SpaceX type, visit to the space station and back, you're coming in from an orbital re-entry. You're coming in at between Mach 22 and 32, right? So you're going considerably faster, and you're heating up your heat shield to 1,600 degrees C. So
it's just that the heat shield didn't heat up.
The heat shield doesn't heat up as much. It's a lot easier to keep the thing clean because you're not getting scorched to the same degree. Because yes, they both come in after an atmospheric re-entry, but one is an orbital re-entry and the other one is a suborbital re-entry. And the suborbital one, which Blue Origin did, is much, much slower and therefore doesn't heat anywhere near as much.
I did think it was amusing watching Jeff Bezos fall on his rich ass trying to get the door open.
Yes, well, there he is in the process of falling. That was him running around the capsule. See the wee insert one over at Katy Perry here. That's him halfway down. There's a big hole there and he just falls into it. The guy is such a geek. He's just the epitome of geekness, isn't he? And do you see him standing outside it with his arms stretched out waiting for his girlfriend to come out? And she didn't even rush up to him and hug him. It took ages. He actually put his arms down before she came to him. But
yeah, she just I've been with a difficult woman in my last relationship, and that one that Bezos is going out with looks positively difficult.
Yeah, I reckon she could have played Vincent. And do you remember the TV series? Anyway, we'll not go into that. But the other thing that gets me is, did you listen? Did you actually listen to them coming back to Earth?
No, I relied on the descriptions of everyone else that did.
Jesus Christ, man. If you had been in that capsule, you would have required some kind of, de-stressing, some kind of therapy for PTSD, ear defenders, probably a whole regime to try and rectify your hearing, because I'm pretty sure there was things going on in that capsule that only dogs could hear. It was the volume was that loud.
That's probably why Bezos didn't go with him.
Jeez, imagine if you. I mean, if you went there as a guy, you'd be sitting there going, "What the holy?" No, yeah, and call me misogynist if you wish, but why scream? What's all the screaming going to do?
Well, when you listen to Katy Perry when she lands back on Earth and she talks about having a connection with the divine feminine and all that vacuous nonsense.
Yeah, but is that not just to promote her tour or her album?
The whole thing was one massive pile of self-promotion for all of them.
It was awful.
I mean, the African American lady had her cleavage out. She had to unzip the top of her thing. I mean, the whole thing, calling them astronauts is just absurd.
As you said, it's an insult to people that have actually been there and done this. And the thing is, I think this has set women's rights back by decades. because they come across as a bunch of stupid freaking women, and that's not how women should be portrayed.
Well, there are female astronauts who
go out there and do the job.
Legitimately can be called astronauts.
Yeah.
The thing that I find really galling is that we had 2 astronauts who were stuck on the space station because of a screw up in the Boeing capsule not being able to come and take them back to Earth.
Yeah.
And Biden not wanting Musk's help.
Yep.
And then SpaceX gets these 2 astronauts back, and they get about 2 seconds of coverage or something in comparison. Yeah. And the media has been non-stop, wall-to-wall vacuous bimbos for days. It's just...
Yeah, and do you see the other thing? They landed in the desert, right? And people are going, that landing looked awfully hard. Surely that would have killed them, Have you never seen the Soyuz coming back to Earth? They've only been doing it for what, 50? How long have we been in space now? 50 years. Yeah, because the Soyuz lands in the Gobi Desert all the time, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really that much harder than landing in water, because when you hit water at that kind of speed, water's not compressible either.
And I mean, I'm sure that whatever they're sitting in has got some sort of shock absorbing something in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough vacuous bimbos.
Speaking of vacuous bimbos, so apparently Russia's ruble is the top performing currency of 2025. What? Those sanctions are really biting. What's going on here?
Yeah, I know the sanctions are having such an amazing effect. You just can't make it up. And of course, you see it's so funny.
You see a headline like that, Ed, and you immediately think, that's got to be nonsense. So, you ask Grok. The claim that the Russian ruble is the top performing currency of 25 feels to be true. Data shows it appreciated by about 23 to 24% against the US dollar from January to mid-April, outperforming currencies like the euro, 5%, and the Japanese yen, 6%.
and the EU still thinks that more sanctions are going to work. The whole thing is that they're just EU leaders and our own dear leader just not living in reality.
They're not, mate. They're not. But these guys are, Xi Jinping is, and the Yemen military. You gotta love the Yemen military. How can you not love the Yemen military? I'd like to become an honorary... No, I can't say that. Anyway, the Chinese move to exempt Yemen from customs duties is a significant step, and investors should take advantage of it, especially following the approval of the new investment law. The ministries of economy, and foreign affairs must engage with China, and identify joint industrial zones to lay a solid foundation for relations between the two countries. So, yeah, well, China's cutting Yemen.
This one is as much of an FU to Trump, as it is helping the Yemeni people. And I mean, to be honest, given how much Yemen has had to endure from the collective West over the last 20 odd years, because I think the first bombing of Yemen was about 2003.
Oh, yeah, they've been doing it for decades, mate.
Yeah, and we've had a Saudi war. We've now got Americans bombing their water supplies and fuel depots and all this kind of stuff.
And the Yanks have been helping.
The Yemenis are the only ones trying to actively stop a genocide. All they're saying is that until
let the aid down.
Food and medical supplies get into Gaza, we're going to target Israeli ships, and if anyone gets in the way, we'll target them as well.
Yeah, I do believe.
In fairness to them, they certainly haven't sunk an aircraft carrier yet, but there's certainly rumors and reports that damage has been done to these ships. And there, if you just have to look at marine traffic, and you will see all the little ships having to go around the Cape of Good Hope,
and that's dangerous. You know that. I know that. Sailors know that, because those 3 ocean currents meet just before you get to the Cape of Good Hope, and that's where these ships disappear because you get those 100-year waves, but they found out you get them on average about once a month.
Yeah, monthly waves.
Yeah,
And
monthly
I mean,
waves.
this is at the end of the day, this is why the bloody Suez Canal was built. It's having a massive impact on the Israeli economy because the port of Eilat is pretty much shut down, and I think it's already gone bankrupt. And there's no traffic there. And for all of the bombing and all of the Yemenis are now say they've shot down 20 Reaper drones, which are like $20 or $30 million a pop.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so that's like $600 million.
This is what people have to understand, is that the Yemenis, they're fighting and they're not backing down in the face of US aggression, and they're doing it with weaponry that costs pennies compared to the expensive stuff that the Americans are using.
Yeah, Britmate says BB has to be a god. Yeah, BB's on borrowed time. He always has been, though. And previously, every time he was on a shaky peg, so to speak, all he would do is jump in his plane, fly over to the Yanks, have a meeting with whoever the president was, get patted on the back, go back, and everybody would go, yeah, BB's all right. He's still in with the Yanks. But this time he's gone over and he's kind of not got the same reception. And that's been noticed back home. So BB's not long. He's not long. Nathan Yahoo.
Yeah, but the problem is who's going to replace him? Because if you look at some of the other people in his government, like Smotrich and Ben Gvir and stuff, they are worse by a mile and a half.
Yeah, and it's like when people say, replace Putin. Who you imagine if Medvedev replaced Putin?
It would be, yes.
Sometimes it's better the devil you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when there's one waiting in the wings that would be happy to be much more belligerent.
Speaking of devils, actually, The Economist, right? The Economist is now copy-pasting Kremlin talking points, apparently. Power is being monopolized in Ukraine. Critics say the presidency is becoming too mighty and making mistakes. Oh my God, the Economist is having a dig at the Ukrainian government. Things must be going wrong in Ukraine if the Economist is getting into it. Don't you think?
Yeah, to me, I think I posted a tweet saying this is basically the beginning of the end of Zelensky.
Yeah.
And possibly Ukraine, and potentially those 4 weird signals that you mentioned at the start of the show.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just comes across as desperate, and his true colors are certainly coming out, because I mean, ever since he first appeared on the world stage, makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
And everything that's happened since has just borne out that sort of gut feeling. And he's been an absolute disaster for Ukraine. He's going to have history books written about how awful he is.
Yeah, unless he wins, which of course he is doing. Well,
according to Western media, Russia's on the ropes and fighting with shovels and washing machines and golf carts. And
well, to be fair, Britmate, this wasn't really anything to do with Ukraine. This conflagration that we're in just now, it was all, and I really mean it was all completely orchestrated by our little chum Victoria Nuland, and
others.
George
the neocons
and George Soros. There's no doubt in my mind, especially if you I have no idea what happened to my excellent video that, well, I say that myself, but I had an excellent video that got pulled by YouTube that for some reason I never put on Rumble, which I should have. But apart from that, what's his name? There's another guy made one that was pretty good. Kind of competitor, Ed. Oh, Oliver Stone. I think he made one that kind of explains the whole thing as well. Yeah.
Ukraine on Fire, very good documentary.
Yeah, very good documentary. Right. So Star Wars been fucking congratulating himself on the back ever since he pulled the Parliament into session on a Saturday, and of course, what did we see that really disturbed me on Saturday? From all the Labour MPs, we saw the same post. The same post time and time again.
Oh, we're working so hard for the British people. We're going into work on Saturday.
On a train, in a bus, standing at a bus stop. Oh, I'm working. I'm working
it just goes
on a
to show
Saturday.
You how out of touch they are.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. I mean, and they just... Every single day that passes, they drop a bit in my estimation. Honestly, they're so out of touch and so arrogant and useless. And this whole, I mean, even just saying that we've got the supplies needed, which means protecting shipments of coking coal from Japan.
Yeah.
When we've got perfectly good coking coal in Britain, that's not far away from
I'll take
the steelworks.
I'll take exception to that, Ed. We have the capability of digging up top-grade coking coal, right? But the successive governments have refused to allow it to the development of it.
Because of net zero. And don't get me started on that because I won't shut up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. So British Steel latest news. Another Chinese firm could take over British Steel. What the hell? So, in one hand, you're telling us, Keith, that it is critical for our national security to be able to make steel, virgin steel, and this is quite critical here because you know how they're talking about these electric blast furnaces they've got that are much better net zero. One, you can't make virgin steel in the ones we've got because the national grid won't support the amount of power required. And if you can't make virgin steel, you can't make weapons because you need high quality steel. If you start melting down old scrappy bits of iron and Toyota Corollas, you're not going to be able to make high quality weapons and tank armor and tanks and all the other things that you need, high quality steel for.
Absolutely. The whole thing is a joke. It's this obsession with privatization and not having things in public ownership, even when they're actually absolutely critical to the country. And it's not based on any logical foundation other than this ideological obsession with this illusion that is the free market, despite the fact that every single industry that's been privatized, water, electricity, gas, everything has gotten more expensive. Mm-hmm. There's less investment. We've got water companies that are a disaster. The whole government, it's just... Mm-hmm. I can't get over how utterly useless the last 30 or 40 years worth of British governments have been. And I'm including Thatcher in that as well, because when we discovered North Sea oil and gas in the 70s, what Norway did was they developed their industry and they put all the money into a sovereign wealth fund and they didn't start dishing out loads of tax cuts. And here they just cut taxes and essentially just spaff the money up the wall.
What we did here was license other companies to do it. Mm-hmm. So we didn't make the money. Private corporations did. And
exactly.
We just took a cut of the licenses and some of the tax. And as you say, spunked it up the wall. That's all we did.
And now in 2025, the Norwegian state oil company, Statoil, is one of the biggest oil companies in the world. They drill in all sorts of places like South America and everywhere.
That's a great point, Ed, because I forgot to give a shout out to the Norwegian military forces for their inspired dancing in the intro video. But anyway, I'd like to welcome everyone to the chat. I know it's late, but we just do things differently here. So welcome, Joey Artifacting Reality, which is known as Harold. Shalini, do tell us, who do you think should go to space, Shalini? Britmate, Tiana, Ray, Ben was in there as real review. I hope you're feeling a bit better, mate. Beats and Tapes, Nick Toridas. I love that name. I really do. That's a brilliant name. Ray, I said Ray. Ray was worried in case people couldn't see him. Vaughn's in as well. Bloody hell, we've got a good going chat today. The trial room's well full. Excellent. Johnning John. I haven't seen you for ages. Well, no, I saw you the other night. In fact, I saw you last night. So I'll retract that statement. Espresso Mechanic. Yeah, we've got a good going chat. Yep. Excellent. Right. Okay, moving on. If I've missed you in the chat, you may feel free to insult me in the troll room, and I shall take it as I normally would. Right, moving on. Over a third of newly trained British doctors are seeking work abroad after the NHS scraps its merit-based job rules. This is just madness, Ed. This is complete and utter madness.
It's just DEI, and it's insane. It's the whole
soldier. Sorry.
The whole thing just needs to go in the bin. We're wasting. I mean, we've got loads of people being paid for these useless jobs. We have graduates at university wasting their time on gender studies and all these other sorts of utterly pointless degrees that are no use to society whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And because of the government's barking mad rules, they're more inclined to accept foreigners who don't necessarily have recognized qualifications, probably because they're cheaper. And there's loads of stories of doctors who are getting set to graduate and know they're going to be out of work, so they're already applying to Australian and Canadian hospitals.
How can they be out of work? This is just crazy, isn't it?
Well, it's because the government doesn't. Yeah. It's all down to the useless idiots that we have running this country.
Yeah, I know it was a kind of rhetorical question, but to be fair,
right.
I mean, this is complete and utter madness. Now, this isn't how you run any kind of critical service. You know, if it's not merit based, you're going to get terrible and awful mistakes happening all the time. And I think that we're actually seeing that in the National Health Service. I might be wrong.
My local hospital, Sussex County, is being investigated by police for, I think, it's about 100 deaths now.
Yeah.
And I saw a tweet from a pharmacist who said that he worked in a big pharmacy and there were foreigners working there who were making mistakes, but he wasn't allowed to say anything because the minute that he did, he'd be accused of racism or something else.
Yeah.
And this whole the kind of equity and this notion that workplaces have to be inclusive, it's nonsense. People should be hired based on merit, not based on the color of their skin. If people are being hired purely based on the color of their skin, to me that sounds a lot like racism.
It is racism. It's just positive racism.
Well, the thing is, you can be only white people aren't allowed to be racist, and the only people that you can't be racist about are white people.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be chosen for your gender either, because I think you should be chosen fully on merit. If you can't do the job regardless of whether you can or can't do the job, regardless of what sex you are, if you can't do the job, you shouldn't be chosen because people are striving to meet an arbitrary target to have a certain amount of one sex or the other in a role. And that's not how things work, and it's not how humans work, because men are better at some things and women are better at other things. And sometimes we can do jobs that cross over. That's fine. But, as we had the whole discussion about the burly fireman, didn't we?
Well, this is the thing, and wouldn't it be a fair argument that since you were in the police and they had that rule about policemen being a certain height, that since that went out the window, the standard of policing has gone down the toilet.
Yeah. In fact,
When
I
you
had
see
a.
these videos of female police officers
Oh,
who are
no.
like 5'0" trying to tackle a 6'5"
Yeah.
6'5" bloke. I
And
mean,
basically, they
what the
just
hell?
shrug them off and walk away. Yeah.
Exactly. Or they're not fit enough to go chasing after a suspect who's taken off. I mean, there's loads of videos of this sort of thing online. You don't have to hunt too far to see them. Anyway, let's move on.
Britmate says he knows a guy who faked his sexuality to get an admin job in the NHS. He said he was gay and he isn't. I can believe that, you know.
Yeah, it's perfectly believable.
Britmate, see this whole 420 thing? It doesn't work here because it's actually the 20th of the 4th here. So it's 24. It's 204. You know, it just doesn't
Look,
work.
we say 420, we say 9/11, all right?
Yeah, we
It's the
do.
zeitgeist.
It's Americanisms though, and nobody. The rest of the world doesn't count like that. See, that's the one thing that really, to me, says it was an inside job because the rest of the world would have done it in November if you wanted to make it 9/11. They'd have done it on the 9th of November, not the 11th of September. There you go. Anyway, right. As J.K. Rowling says, I love it when a plan comes together. This is her celebrating last night with her cigar, right? And she was talking
she had to go
about
out of her way to point out that it wasn't a blunt.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it looks like a cigar. It's a small one, but it looks like one. Anyway, she was talking about the UK's Supreme Court judgment, in which they've legally ruled that if you're a man, you're a man, and if you're a woman, you're a woman. And regardless of what you want to be known as or what you want to assign your gender as, when it comes to your sex, you are one or the other, and that's it. And that's the legal definition, people, you know? So I think we've got to go with what the law says, don't we?
Well, the fact that it had to go to the Supreme Court because the politicians are all spineless wimps who can't stand up to the massive pressure that people like that get from the TRA activists.
Yeah.
And I find the whole thing utterly despicable. I mean, I live in Brighton, and it's absolutely common, and has been for the entire 30 years that I've lived here, to walk down the street and you can see men dressed as women, you can see women dressed as men, you can see all sorts of people dressed in all sorts of ways. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, nobody gave a shit until what, 5 years ago, when everything started going awry for some reason.
Well, that's the thing. And it's, to me, men competing in women's sports, wrong. Men using women's changing facilities, wrong. Men exposing themselves in said women's changing facilities to little girls. I don't see how anyone is even trying to say that this is acceptable. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like the Berlin in the 30s, you know, the decadence and fall of social standards just before everything.
Well, when they talk about the
shit.
book burnings that happened due to a certain mustachioed gentleman, what they don't mention is the books that were being burned. And a lot of it was stuff that people in this day and age would probably be quite happy burning as well, because it was a lot of degenerate rubbish in a lot of cases. And if you look at the history of the trans movement, I mean, the people who birthed the movement were really creepy, like super creepy.
Indeed.
But let's move on. Otherwise, we'll just get into trouble.
So, despite Rachel from Complaints or Accounts, or however you want to describe her, this is the UK monthly change in payroll employment, and this is from the HMRC, and it's not looking great, is it?
Well, No, it's not looking great at all. But what's worse is they tried to claim that it was a small change.
Yeah.
Does that look like a small change? I mean, that's minus roughly 70,000.
Yeah, it's pretty much the second. It's pretty much equivalent to the second highest month. So it's not a small
Absolutely,
change. Yeah, it's not a small change.
And the thing is that if this had happened under the previous government, the media would be swarming all over it like flies on poo.
Yeah.
And now, because their preferred government is in power, they'll do everything. And I mean, they'll just massage the data or plain lie about it or try and make it out like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But the thing that we also have to think about is that every single one of those numbers is a person who's lost their job.
Yep.
There's a human element that the graph doesn't display, and the kind of misery that those wretched so-and-sos are causing is horrific.
And can I just point out that there wasn't a negative in that whole graph until we got to July 2024. What happened in July 2024? Oh, we've got a Labour government.
Yep.
Yeah, doing a great job, guys. Hang in there.
Well done.
Well done, Keith.
Clapping all round.
Keith, Rachel. Yep, you're doing great. The cost of speaking about the cost of labour, Starmer's small boats record is the worst of any PM since crisis began. And I thought, surely this can't be true. Source: The Telegraph, another lefty rag. If the Telegraph's saying it, I think it's got to be true.
Well, again, this is just, they just lie. It's like, we're going to smash the gangs. It's like, how about we just divert the Royal Navy from causing problems in the Mediterranean and the Middle East?
You can't, mate. You can't. I saw a tweet the other day. The Royal Navy's on standby to escort coal and steel.
Oh, that was the coke and coal from the previous story. Yeah.
The Royal Navy's on standby to escort that and to secure our national security.
Or at least the RNI just took them back to France.
I fucking can't believe
or something. But I mean, they're actually being brought over.
Look,
they're being put up in hotels. They're being given mobile phones and money. And
I'll tell you, right, here's how you cure the smash the gangs thing. You don't need to smash the gangs. This is how you stop them coming. You do exactly what France does now, and let's be sensible here. France is a member of the EU and a signatory to the European Court of Human Rights. So if France can do it, I'm pretty sure we can do it, right? And France has always done this. So you go to France, if you want to get benefits in France, so even if you're an asylum seeker or whatever, or any person, you have to live in the country for 2 years unaided to be able to start claiming benefits. You have to give your fingerprints over and you have to have your record checked for any criminal activity in the place you came from, right? So, if you did that, why would they come to the UK? Because they would have no benefits for 2 years, not even a house, right? So, in France, you see them, they're all camped out in tents and things. Unless they give their fingerprints over, they don't get any assistance. So they don't get anything until they've been checked and until they can prove that they can live there unaided for 2 years. So that's why nobody wants this. That's why they won't stay in France. That's why they're camped out in tents in Calais and trying to get across the channel, because France won't give them anything. Now, if we did the same, they wouldn't come.
Well, that just suggests that the government wants them here. They want them to come for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is.
Population replacement?
Well, there's all sorts of different explanations that I can think of.
The hope that some of them,
once the locals get uppity, they can put all those boat people in uniforms. And they'll happily crack skulls.
No, that won't work. That just won't. I mean, people that say that have no conception of trying to organize people into an effective fighting force, because that just won't work. right? So
I don't know what the reason is.
Here's the reason, and the reason is, right, they think that if some of these people get to work, they'll start paying taxes and they'll be able to keep paying pensions.
Yeah, but they're
That's
all
the
just
problem.
costing money.
Yes, I know that.
All
It's
the
a flawed.
statistics say these undocumented migrants just end up costing us money because they're not engineers.
It's flawed. Yeah, but I thought they were all doctors, lawyers, engineers,
Surgeons.
and teachers. I thought they were all high quality guys that were coming in. So anyway, that's how you cure it. But we won't do it. We won't do it because for some reason we're weak.
Weak leaders.
Tell me about this one. This is one of yours in particular.
Yeah, this is yet another website that is now denying access to people in the UK because of Ofcom and their new, what's it called? Online Safety Act.
Oh, the Online Safety Bill, yeah.
Which is supposedly to protect people, but it's not. It's essentially there for censorship. And this one was Gab. Oh no, BitChute or Gab?
No, that's Gab. That's Gab.
Yeah, this
that's
one's Gab. It was BitChute last week, and this week it's Gab.
Although Gab have said they're not going to do anything. They say we operate in the States. If you want to come after us, come ahead, big boy, because the US Constitution protects them.
Yeah, the problem is that the British government ended up going for their payment systems because Gab stopped being able to accept international payments. Probably because they were using Stripe, and Stripe is based in the UK.
That's ridiculous.
And it's insane. And it's at the moment, it's the networks. First, they came for the social networks and video websites that not many people use.
Yep.
Next, they'll be coming for the big ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they will. Yep. Right.
Unfortunately, and I shouldn't say this, but I would just advise people who have been blocked from accessing their favorite sites to investigate VPNs.
It's always good to use a VPN. So a certain degree of anonymity on the interwebs is probably a good thing. Right, an end to America's Cold War mentality. The Washington Post reports that Americans viewing Russia as an enemy has dropped from 70% to 50% in only 3 years. That's wild. That's the biggest drop among Republicans. That's because they've stopped being propagandized, haven't they?
Probably because they're going to more reliable sources for their news, like X and Gab and BitChute and places like that. And they're also they saw Zelensky's performance in the Oval Office when he met with Trump and Vance, and I can't imagine it. I mean, he didn't endear himself to me, so I can only imagine what Americans who'd been fed Biden-era propaganda about how Zelensky is the God King Emperor of Europe and everyone has to bow down to him. And he just sat there acting like a spoiled little shit.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's not surprising.
So this actually harkens back to the merit-based employment, doesn't it? So are these terms journalists accurate here? Journalists Robert Mendick and Isabel Oakeshott.
Well, I don't particularly like either of them, but I think in this particular case, they've broken a story that's talking about how we're having positive discrimination, and I think it's West Yorkshire Police. Have had this, and they've, since the story broke, they've been trying to roll it back and say, "Oh no, this is just guidelines, and it doesn't really matter, and it's not used for anything," and blah 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 blah. If not, why did you do it in the first place? But this is essentially saying that Black and Asian people are gold and white people are bronze. So and it's the positive discrimination, and they're essentially fast tracking people of color, purely based on their race again. And this is just.
I'm sorry, I can't read it out either. Oh my god. I just found out why Shalini get banned off Twitter. Oh dear, oh dear.
What?
Don't read it out.
Oh, no, I won't.
In fact, I'll probably need to delete that. Probably need to remove that. Because it'll go down as a bad thing. Oh, I'm sorry, but I will remove that. But yeah, that's a cracker, mate.
I mean, it's yes. One has to be very careful. On old Twitter, I got a 7-day suspension for telling someone to get in the sea.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like, did you see the latest? Some guy got accused of making a hate crime for asking someone to speak English. You know, yeah. I mean, this is England. Well, it's an English-speaking nation, and if you're asking someone if they can speak English, that's not a hate crime. It's it's asking if to help you, I need to be able to understand you. Therefore, if you can't speak English to me, I can't help you. That's just ridiculous.
But it's down to the police, because the police are actually wasting their time and our time on this nonsense. Meanwhile, there's real criminals running around.
Yeah.
And you have to sometimes wonder whether it's just easier for the police to go after the free speech people than it is the knife-wielding maniacs.
You know what, right? Having been a cop, right? The police are generally fairly regular people, okay? They're not generally left, right, or automatons or whatever. They're not all Nazis. They're fairly regular people, and they come from all different walks of life. And they're probably a fairly good representation of the communities that they're working in. Now, what happens, though, is the government makes policies that filter down to the chief constables, who then have to start trying to implement these policies. And it's like, I mean, it can be something as simple as crime stats are going up. You know, there's too many people breaking into houses. So while we are trying to catch people breaking into houses, what you're also being told to do is, well, if somebody breaks into a garden shed, that's not really a house because people don't live. But technically, as far as the law goes, it is a house, right? So you start recording garden sheds as a different thing. And then they'll say, well, there's too many people, or there's not enough people being caught with knives, so we need to catch more. So you go out and you start doing stop and search and things like that. And then you get told,
was safer when they didn't have all these targets.
Yeah, I know. And then you get told, we're catching too many people that are the wrong colour. This goes on in the police, I can assure you. And the guy on the ground doesn't know, you know, what the hell is going on and what the hell he meant to be doing one day from the next. It's absolutely ridiculous.
What's the politicization of it all? I mean, the police should, I don't know, they need to strip it back. You've got too many administrators, you've got too many politicians sticking their noses in, too many requirements for statistics. And it's, yeah, okay, there has to be some accountability for the police. And you have to make sure that you've got a way of identifying and getting rid of bad cops, because they're always going to be the wrong sort of people that end up in the police force. But setting targets for the numbers, you have to arrest a set number of white people and a set number of black people. You can't arrest too many more black people than white people, because otherwise you start looking racist. I mean, the whole thing's just bloody nonsense. Let's move on. I'm just going to get frustrated and start swearing and shouting.
I get accused of targeting a guy because I booked him 3 times for speeding in 1 week. In 3 separate locations, right? And he wrote a letter of complaint, and the superintendent says, "Are you particularly targeting this guy, John?" And I goes, "Look, boss, we caught him speeding on 3 different occasions, in 3 different locations at 3 different times. How the hell are we supposed to catch him speeding when we're standing out with a radar gun. It's not as if we were in a car, right? How the hell are we supposed to know where he's going to be at certain times? Plus, I've done another 30 people at the same time, so I didn't have time to go and follow him and wait and guarantee where he was going to be. And he's going, yeah, fair point. Just leave it. I'll write that off.
Oh, dear.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous, some of the crap that comes through.
Absolutely absurd. Speaking
of ridiculous, so the point seems to be now that if you are maybe bullied, right? Maybe, but lash out disproportionately and end up taking someone else's life and admit what you've done, right? Remember, this guy has admitted, he has confessed to doing what he did. You're now the victim.
And this is just George Floyd all over again.
Yeah, and that's what Ben Davison was tweeting about earlier, and we won't go into what he was suggesting that happens. Right, so this next one is really, really screwed up. Japanese scientists from the University of Tokyo have developed a groundbreaking method to attach living lab-grown skin to robotic faces, enabling lifelike smiles and facial expressions. It mimics human tissue structures using collagen-based gels and perforation-type anchors to securely bind the skin to the robot's surface without tearing or peeling during movement. The artificial skin is soft, self-healing and capable of stretching, paving the way for more realistic humanoid robots. While still in its early stages, this technology has potential applications in robotics, cosmetics and medical research. This technology will be deployed before most of the world has a chance to understand the implications and recoil in absolute abject horror from the thing from the thing that is there. That moves and forms expressions. That's not a face by any stretch of the imagination.
No, but it's also just a very small little sample of what they're working on. I mean, this has just got Terminator robots writ large.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's crazy how fast things are moving. And it's crazy how few people seem to have watched some of these dystopian robots take over the world films.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we've had regular Terminator movies for the last 30 odd years. I mean, the whole thing is just absolutely just bonkers completely.
It's crazy. Right. Let's take this one next. So French philosopher Renaud Camus, who is opposed to mass immigration, right, has been banned from entering Britain after the Home Office told him his presence would go against the public good. I should have run this adjacent to that other one we were talking about. So an anti-immigration philosopher has been banned from entering the country because anything he says is going to go against the public good. That seems to indicate that the government is pro-immigration.
That would also indicate that the government is pro-censorship.
Yeah, well, yes, it does tend to indicate that, although Ed Davey, in the insight here, I have written to David Lammy in the strongest possible manner to ask him to summon the Chinese ambassador after Vera Hophouse was refused entry to Hong Kong when visiting her family, apparently simply because she's a British MP. China should not be allowed to undermine our democracy. Hold on a minute. Whoa, hold on there, Ed. Hong Kong's not ours anymore, right? She's not an MP in Hong Kong. She's an MP here. What's that got to do with undermining our democracy if they chose not to let you into part of their country?
Well, precisely. And
I don't understand
the Chinese, given how belligerent a lot of sections of the British media are towards China and the British politicians and some of the things they say about China, and potentially you don't know who she was scheduled to meet or anything like this. But the simple fact of the matter is that China has got a complete sovereign right to deny anyone entry to the country. Simple. They don't have to give an explanation. They can just say, no, we don't want you here. Sorry, go away.
And also, regarding us banning someone who wants to just come to the country, on a non-democratic mission just to talk as a philosopher, it doesn't put us in a very good light, does it?
Well, no, but that seems to be one of the government's specialities.
Right, the UFO community are melting down over this. They really are. They're really just, some of them are nutters. Okay. Where's my mouse gone? I've lost my mouse. Here we go. Right. So, the White House, remarks by Director Kratios at the Endless Frontiers retreat. This guy was talking about technology, right? And American technology and how it's used and things like that. And he was talking about all sorts of things like the internet and missiles. And he said their technologies permit us to manipulate space and time and space. They leave distance annihilated. He's talking about the internet, not fucking UFOs. So the UFO community have jumped on this and goes, oh, UFOs are real. We can do this.
Yeah, but how is manipulating time and space connected to the internet?
Because he's using it as an analogy. He's not fucking saying we manipulate actual time and space. What happens is the internet compresses time because it makes everything just available instantly everywhere. It's quite a straightforward explanation. Fucking crazy. And then, of course, UFO mania here. After learning that the US has technology that we can manipulate space and, well, one, you didn't learn anything. You were told something by a clown talking at a conference about something that was completely out of context to what you're not now putting it to. He's saying this video seems more real to me, and when you watch that video, that is one of the worst possible examples of CGI that I've ever seen. Anyway, freaking ridiculous. The US cannot manipulate time and space. I guarantee it. Because if they could, can you imagine what the fuck would be going on right now?
Have you seen the state of the world?
Yeah, I've seen the state of the world. Exactly. Do you think the US would be in the predicament it's in right now if they could manipulate time and space? They're not doing very well, are they?
No, I mean, they haven't used any of their recovered alien tech to take out the Houthis or anything, so.
Yeah, they can send people wherever they want within an hour, Soldier, because they've got a military base in 606. They've got 666 military bases in 187 countries. That's why they can send people wherever they want within an hour. Oh.
Let's move on.
Yep. Lucy Letby is behind bars because of the testimony of a lying Indian doctor. Oh, there's something that I've brought up before. But I'm not going to label that point. So Lucy Letby could be freed after a bombshell email cast doubt on a court claim that a nurse was caught red-handed with a baby who later died. Yeah. There you go.
That one, I mean, it's one of the biggest miscarriages of justice ever in the history of the country.
I think so too.
And she should be released and given a few million quid to get her life back on track.
Yes. Now this one, my body isn't the problem. The problem is airlines are making it difficult for plus-size people to travel. And while I might have some sympathy with you, my dear, at this point in time, my reasoning would work on the fact that I think I need to lose a few pounds. Why the hell don't you? Because
it's this whole plus size influencer thing. She's making her money on the basis that she's plus size. And it's this body positivity nonsense. The simple fact of the matter is that being overweight is not good for your health. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for any organ in your body.
Exactly. No.
And it's also a choice. The thing is that if it was some sort of disability that someone is born with, and they're saying that airlines are not accommodating me, that's one thing. But if you're deliberately obese and you try and fly in squeezy jet, then if you can't fit in a seat, you have to buy two of them.
Yeah, hi guys on the vertical. We've got a couple of speakers on the vertical. They're saying they're healthy as a laugh. Indeed, it is pure love. It is very much a laugh. Now, the other questions I have here, Ed, is why is she allowed to fly? And hear me out here, right? Because that's not safe. That's possibly the weight of a baby elephant, right? If that plane had a crash, she's going to keep going forward with a degree of momentum that those seats aren't going to be able to stop. She's going to kill people.
She might even pop out of the seatbelt too.
It won't matter. She'll take the seat with her.
Well, you know, back in the early days of air travel,
yeah,
passengers were all weighed with their luggage. They had to stand on these big scales.
Yeah.
And they'd calculate the weight, and then the pilot would have to make sure that the whole thing's balanced. And I mean, that's the other thing, because the plane has to be in balance. So.
Well, yeah, it still happens, because when I was on the firearms team, we used to have to go down to the helicopter station, and put all our gear on, strap up, and then get weighed to see what we weighed if we were going to be lifted and shifted anywhere. So it is important to know what weight you're carrying. Now, the other thing is that kind of weight when involved in an accident is a recipe for disaster. But what if she tried to go out of one of those overwing exits? She'd block it.
She'd never get out of it.
She'd never get out of it. So all the people behind her wouldn't be getting out it either.
It's all. I mean, I'm in agreement with you on that one. But let's move on, because I'm sick of looking at her.
Right, here we go. The madness carries on.
I sent this one to you because I know how much of an Ashton Forbes fan you are.
I was composing a tweet to Ashton Forbes earlier today, and then I just deleted it and thought, it's not fucking worth it.
Just let it go, John.
Yeah. So, MH370 was a lithium-ion battery fire, 100%. Yeah, and MH370 did have a big stack of lithium-ion batteries on it. But I don't think it had anything to do with it turning away from China, on its flight path, did it?
No, I don't. I mean, that's another one of those mystery flights that went missing, and there's all sorts of. I mean, MH370s. There's loads of conspiracy theories about technology and Rothschilds owning patents, and all the other patent owners that were on that flight, and suddenly Rothschild owns the patent and lithium battery fires. And I mean, given how dangerous lithium batteries are, it's certainly more of a rational explanation than 3 glowing orbs that were circling the plane.
Oh, but that doesn't matter. The orbs are still involved in Ashton's explanation. They still teleported the plane at the end. I don't know where they've teleported the plane, but they still teleported it anyway. But the whole thing's ridiculous, because this woman, Catherine T, was nowhere near the Nicobar Islands. This whole thing is debunked comprehensively. There's no way she saw MH370 because she wasn't there.
Well, he says something.
Yeah, but she wasn't where he's saying she was. That's the thing. I mean, he just makes stuff up.
I don't know. I'm not.
This guy has been going on about. I mean, when was this? 2013 or something?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, but this guy has made. This guy's got one. He's a one-issue person. He even said that's why they call me 4 orbs, not Forbes. 4 orbs. This guy's a nutter. And he's just an absolute nutter. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes, let's move
So
on.
apparently this is Alex Jones. He's jumped on the bandwagon as well. The US military has been funding the development of top secret weapons that can alter the fabric of space-time using quantum technology. How? See, this is all back to Ashton and he's the four orbs, the three orbs on this side that you see going around the plane are negatively charged, and they through quantum entanglement, right, connect to three positively charged orbs on the other side, and it pulls it through the ether to another location. That is the biggest piece of nonsense I've ever heard. I mean, how could one even start to rationalize that? And then he goes on to say that, I if I have to become, the foremost scientist on particle physics and quantum entanglement and everything in order to prove this, I will. You don't even have a fucking degree in physics. The guy's a nutter.
Yeah, but there's no doubt that the US government is funding all sorts of top secret technology. So maybe they're working on it. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on because we've spent too much time on this anyway.
Right. I'm not sure about this one, right? Because I read this and I thought, what the fuck is the Prime Minister on about?
Well, he didn't mention Judaism or Islam.
No,
so I guess that's a bonus. He
yeah.
actually said something about a Christian holiday.
Yes, he did, but it just reads funny to me. Wishing a blessed and peaceful Good Friday to Christians in the UK as they commemorate the crucifixion and death of Jesus Christ.
Oh, he's an arch Zionist. What do you expect?
It's pretty. It just doesn't sound good. I mean, I know.
But given how much disdain he shows for the local inhabitants of these islands and their traditions and religion, look, the Japanese ambassador does more for British culture than the bloody Prime Minister.
Yes, he does. He does.
So this doesn't. I mean, it was short. It was very, I don't know, canned, insincere. I mean, he's just proving it. His marketing team have been like, we've got to say something because all of social media is screaming CUNT at you. So let's post something. And Keir is just a disingenuous wet wipe. So this is the best that they can come out with. I just think it's insulting. I'm not even a Christian, and I think it's insulting.
Yeah. Let's move on. Don't send me links in the chat, Soldier. If you're going to send me links, put them in a comment after the fact, because I'm not opening links on a live stream. Things will go awry. Project to suck carbon out of the sea begins in the UK. What's this about, Ed?
This is net zero nonsense. They've worked out that the biggest carbon sink on the planet is the oceans, and they have to somehow account for it in all of their nonsense narrative. And they're still working on the assumption that CO2 causes warming rather than warming causes CO2.
Yeah.
And so they've now decided they're going to try and suck carbon out. I mean,
but wouldn't we want, if we were wanting to reduce carbon, wouldn't we want to put CO2 into the ocean rather than out of it?
Well, there's a really great little experiment you can do to see the relationship between heat, liquid, and carbon dioxide. Very simple demonstration of the law of thermodynamics. You take 2 cans of Coke, you put one of them in the fridge, you let it get nice and cold, you put another one out in the garden on a hot sunny day, and you let that heat up, and then you put them side by side. You open the cold one, it'll be this nice little, as it opens, you open the warm one, and it'll explode all over your face.
So why are we wanting to suck carbon out of the seas? So we're doing this so that if the oceans get hot, the carbon will already be out?
Because we're run by scientifically idiotic zealots.
Yeah, I'm going to move on. I have no idea.
Let's move on
here. I have no idea.
Because it's just one of those nonsense stories that, yes, of course it's happening in the UK, and of course the BBC are promoting it. And it's just nonsense.
People in a car going to sacrifice a goat fell in a river. 4 died of drowning. The goat survived.
That's what you call karma.
Karma. Yeah, we like a bit of karma
in your car.
Yeah. Man saves small dog from violent German shepherd by repeatedly sticking his finger in the dog's nether region. The incident took place in Roe Green Park in northeast London. Multiple people tried stopping the attack by using various other methods, such as pouring water on the dog, that kind of thing. But this chap there, he grasped it by the tail and gave it a good seeing to with his finger. And it seemed to do the job. I'm telling you, I think the guy was a passing gypsy. I can only imagine a gypsy would come up with that. I can't think anyone else would do that.
Well, it's actually, it's probably, if you look for manuals on how to survive a dog attack, it's probably enlisted, because it was disgusting and would pretty much be the last thing that you'd want to do. If chucking a glass of water on the dog doesn't help. I mean, I don't know who thought chucking water on it would help, but yeah. Just goes to show you how crazy the world is.
What gets me is the person filming this. They're just standing filming this, you know.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's what happens. People don't stop and help. They just stand there and film it.
We're all becoming arseholes. We really are.
Moving on. I agree with Cellini. Let's move on.
It's simultaneously, though, the most disturbing and funniest thing I've ever seen in one video. It's just absolutely incredible.
I just don't want to go there. Let's move on.
You got to love a bit of JK, don't you? So Julian Mon says, I am a King's Counsel and I have an unblemished professional record, and I do not say this lightly. The Supreme Court's decision has made me ashamed of my profession and ashamed of what our law has become, but we won't stop fighting. J.K. Rowling. Mon has an unblemished professional record in the same way that I have an unblemished karaoke record. Misplaced confidence followed by making a complete tit of yourself.
Oh, that woman is the mistress of Twitter. She's just glorious.
And I find her better than Katie Hopkins because she doesn't even need to try.
No, she doesn't try. She just has that wit and that gift with language that I just think is hilarious that people actually try and take on J.K. Rowling in a war of words on Twitter. I mean, this is the woman that produced the Harry Potter universe and created words like muggle. I mean, you want to seriously engage that woman in a war of words, you're going to get your ass handed to you.
Hey, I got my reply to Ricky Gervais liked by him today. I'll take that.
That's a win. Are you sure it was Ricky and not one of the?
No, it was the actual
5,500 people with the name Ricky Gervais in his exact picture.
It had the actual proper thing.
Okay.
Cool. Right, in the forests of Sweden, there are cages similar to this cage with pictures that are closed from with doors that are closed from the inside only, and they're always open and have ground communication devices to ask for help. The function of these cages is to protect you from bears and other animals, when you're wandering in the forests of Sweden, because extensive forests, and they've got black bears and wolves and all that. They've got loads of things that could kill you in Sweden. Lovely place, though. But the more concerning thing is, who the fuck bent that bar?
What?
Yeah, or what? Yeah. What bent that?
It would be more likely that it was a bear or something trying to get in. And you can just imagine that whichever poor sod that was stuck in that cage with whatever animal was trying to get in was probably in need of a change of underwear when they'd finished.
Sweden have stopped taking asylum seekers and migrants, Britmate. They stopped it last year. I know they can't control them now, that the ones that are there, but they have stopped taking more.
But then on that basis, they need to start installing a few of these in Stockholm for protection of Swedish people.
For the locals. Right. This is England. This is what we want. Nuki. Daft tourist thinks it's okay to park on the beach. It's free to park on the beach, but car sinks in the sand, tide comes in, and then a local called Barry the Bugler turns up, and as the car slowly disappeared under the waves, he played the last post.
And everybody's standing around filming it.
That is classic England. Look at the guy who obviously owns the car doesn't know whether to laugh or cry, does he? Look at him. He
looks like he's dying inside a little bit.
He does, doesn't he?
I don't think he's ever going to recover from this, and he's probably never coming back to England. But it doesn't. This story is about as English as fish and chips, or roast beef and Yorkshire pudding.
You know how I always go on about mylar balloons?
Yeah.
Somebody managed jellyfish UFO. Oh, let's zoom in and focus on it. It's a freaking mylar balloon.
That actually looks like a balloon that the little kid has.
Yeah, that's what a mylar balloon is.
Ah.
Those party balloons are mylar balloons, right?
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, they're right, because helium will go through a rubber balloon or whatever they use for making balloons these days. But helium has to be in those kind of metallicized ones, which are really shiny and give you all sorts of different, every time they turn, they give you a different look. And they've got that seal round them as well. So, if they're circular, they've got the seal round them. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And that's exactly what happens. They get up in the sky, they're highly reflective, and these things will go up for tens of thousands of feet, no problem. There's over 1 million of these accidentally released every year. Over 1 million. Now, I'd like to point out that in Fluffy Columbus, I see you're still here. I've actually, over the years, become more and more like one of my heroes. I actually now have the physique of Johnny Rambo.
Shut up, let's move on.
No, I do, look. He's a fucking dead ringer for me now.
He has kind of let himself go a bit.
What do you mean? I've been working towards us. Right, moving on. Yeah. I'd like to point out Michael Rappaport has not died. However, this tweet, Michael Rappaport has died, and someone replies, "This is not funny. His family could see this post and be traumatized when they realise he's still alive."
Oh, this one had me giggling because he's one of the most awfulest people on X. And that is saying something.
Yeah,
he's malign. And he's an idiot as well.
Yes, he is. And
he's got a nasty cold sore.
That was a cracking meme that came out earlier.
I love this one. I saw this one earlier in the week. This one just had me giggling because it's so true.
It's true. Very true. The next one is just a random photograph of some woman reposing with her child, and it's lovely. It's just lovely. It's not what you think, mate. It's not what you think.
No, it's one of those ones that you have to stop and think about.
Yeah, it's not what you think.
Oh,
that's
dear.
just a happy picture of a woman and her child.
Watch the stream get ended for pornography now.
It's not pornography. It's a woman and her child.
Yeah, but whatever AI they've got scanning the images doesn't know that.
Yeah. Right, so Violent Aristocrat here goes, "An Italian restaurant in Rome plays classic music loud all day. I asked the owner why. He said classic music keeps black people away. They don't like it." 5.9 million impressions. 5.9 million. Holy Toledo, right? And then this other one, when a guy tells me he owns a gun, I'm like, "Oh, what's wrong with your dick?" And David Dennison kindly replies, last time I tried to use my dick on a home intruder, I got in way more trouble. The cops were pretty upset. The intruder needed counselling, and I'm on a list. Just use a gun. You know, it makes sense.
Oh dear, except you can't do that in the UK.
Yeah, I know. Do you want a police story? You want a story from?
Must.
I'm just so we're out on night shift one night, and one of the guys is off because it was the end of night shift, so it was the Sunday night, and you get these things called an additional rest day every so often. So he was off on the Sunday night, and his kid wasn't very well anyway, so he got up about 2:00 in the morning, and he heard the noise downstairs, and he was actually going down the stairs to go and get some cough medicine for the kid. And he heard this noise. He thought, that's weird. Creeps down the stairs, and he looks into the living room, and there's an arm through the top window. Now he had a big double glazed window in the front of his house, but he had these two really small windows at the top. And it was a really warm summer's night. He'd left it on the latch, but the guy had managed to poke the latches open and pull the window up. So he had his arm through it, and he'd put it through the Venetian blinds. So he couldn't see who it was, but he could see this arm, and it was obviously trying to see if it could open one of the lower windows so as he could actually crawl in. And he thought, well, I don't know what he thought, but so he phoned quietly. But he phoned after he'd grabbed the guy's arm and pulled him through the window. So the whole window came in. And then he phoned, and we turned up. And you'd have thought it was an abattoir. He had a white carpet, and you couldn't tell it was white anymore. Because he pulled this guy through the window. So the whole thing was just covered and just absolutely covered in blood. But yeah, I mean, and it worked out quite well because he did have defensive wounds. So obviously the guy tried to get him first, as you would, you know. So it was self-defense.
At least it didn't get locked up.
No, of course not. It was self-defense. Now we've got a new little segment coming up here, which is since it's Good Friday and we're being all religious this weekend, and probably you'll be in church on Sunday. I thought I'd show you some stained glass windows just to put you in the mood. Yeah? Isn't this lovely? These are actual stained glass windows. Isn't that a lovely image?
Yeah.
He's
they
obviously
should have thought twice about that one.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously just giving the child some solace. Anyway, and the next one is on a more modern take of Jesus after indeed he is risen. And again, possibly the artist maybe didn't quite think through where they should have placed the arm of that chair.
Oh dear.
Right, we don't have much left, mate. We don't have much left. We're nearly there. When you're staying at your mate's house and you hear their mum shout, your friend can fuck off too. That's kind of good meme. I like that one.
I guess that happened. Yeah.
That has happened. Come on, surely.
I think it must have happened to everybody.
Yeah. I definitely heard that one. That's a cracker. I can't believe the surgeon is thumbs upping like she did a good job. She had the perfect nose. Well, I wouldn't say it was a perfect nose, but it wasn't that bad. But the botched nose job video goes viral. Bloody hell.
That's terrible.
Isn't it? And the thing is, that'll be swollen. That'll be swollen just now because of what she's done. That's going to look ridiculous. I mean, I hope she's sued.
I see a lawsuit in that doctor's future.
Yeah, I on this occasion, I hope she did sue. And I've just got one what would you call it?
Slide.
Slide left. Is there anything else you want to talk about before I display it?
I can't think of anything. We've covered all the super crazy stuff.
What about the chat room? Is there anything you guys want to dig into? Is there anything you want to talk about? What are we covering on Rabbit Hole next week?
I have got no idea. Absolutely no idea right now.
Okay. We're finished early tonight. We've only been an hour and a half. That's good.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'll give you this. I'll finish this with this thought for the evening, perhaps, and remember this whenever you come north of the wall. In the 13th century, Vikings were advised to avoid Scotland. According to a new review of old Icelandic sagas, Scotland is full of dangerous natives who speak an incomprehensible language, and the weather is awful. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, it does. It's not much has changed since the Vikings were running around.
It's been great for you.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream